a lot of people came from Syria and Iraq. Approaching the number is 3 million people in Turkey. That's a huge number. It's of course creating a lot of problems in Turkey. There is a certain level of nativism against the migrants. But if you think about the sheer size of the people who came, only 1 million people went to Europe, and it created so much problems in Europe. 3 million are in Turkey. It's almost a demographic change. Of course, culturally, they're not that different. A huge part of the society is very willing to take the migrants in. And most of the migrants are living in cities near to Syria and Iraq, which are not really culturally that different. There are even family bonds across the border between Turkish southern cities and Syria. But still the number is so big and they're spread so much around Turkey, and there's such a big burden on Turkey. The government is criticized in a sense because some believe that its policies led to this migration problem. Some are praising the government a lot. The Turkish government is praised internationally a lot because it's doing so much to help the refugees. Turkey has aid activities everywhere around the world, from Somalia to Myanmar to Haiti, everywhere. But of course the Syrian refugees are the biggest chunk of it. Now, even though it has a lot of influence into Turkish politics, the open door policy has to continue, because the second reason is that there's nothing much you can do about it. Turkey shares 800 kilometers common border with Syria. It's always been very difficult to control this border. And once these people started to come desperately, closing the doors was not an option. It was also not practically feasible. Now, diplomatically, the migration problem influenced Turkey's relations in two ways. One is, yes, humanitarian diplomacy became an important part of Turkish diplomacy. Turkey has been mostly inward-looking country, okay? But once this humanitarian problem emerged, Turkey started to develop its tools, diplomatic tools, and its government agencies for aid. So being an aid-giving country, Turkey has been receiving aid, okay? But this made Turkey a country giving aid. It transformed Turkish mindset. The second influence diplomatically is Turkey's relations with Europe. Because the migrants came to Turkey and now they started to move to Europe, Turkish diplomacy, in terms of its relations with Europe, has also evolved. Maybe you know, the Turkish EU admission process has been stalled for years. It's not moving anywhere. Because Europe is so much concerned with its own problems. But once this migration issue emerged, Europe again saw that they cannot really ignore Turkey. They might want Turkey in Europe, they might not want Turkey in Europe. It doesn't matter, they have to do something. They have to deal with Turkey. So it actually gave a new perspective to Turkey's relations, diplomatic relations with EU. Everything, including the terrorist attacks and the failed coup d'etat, which shocked everyone in this summer, and this refugee problem has an important psychological impact on Turkish public. Turkey has been dealing with these kind of problems before too, but they have intensified quite a lot. The public is pretty much in shock because of whatever happened this summer, and this shock is still continuing. It will continue for, I don't know, maybe another year, I don't know how long. But for one thing, the economy is still maintaining its stability, even though the dollar has become very strong lately. Its tourism has been influenced a lot. Its trade with Russia has been influenced because of other problems, as you know, related with, against Syria. But nevertheless, it seems that the economy seems more resilient than we thought it is. Turkish public is pretty much consolidated because of these problems. These terror attacks has created a certain atmosphere in Turkey where there's a feeling of resilience against these kind of problems in the world. Now, because there are so many problems, And because of the problems with the EU, and because of the general in the world, there's a trend towards nativism, there's a trend towards in the world, as we have talked in the symposium, an inward-looking mindset. This influences United States with Trump, European Union with Brexit and its own problems, maybe Japan in certain senses, Asia everywhere. Now I think it is more than important, it's vital for Turkey to have very good international linkages with friendly countries. Now Turkish-European relations are in strain. Turkish-American relations, I don't know what kind of a path it will follow after Trump coming to power. We don't know yet, but Turkish-American relations have been very strained too. Because of the Arab Spring, Turkish relations with Middle East are also very strained. So Turkey started to turn its focus towards Russia, Central Asia, which are not really alternatives to EU or the Western countries. Now, Japan is a very special country. Japan is an Eastern country, but it's also a Western country. It's an Asian country, but it's a Western Asian country, right? And Japan and Turkey enjoy very good relations historically, diplomatically, and the leaders are also very good friends. So I think if Turkey strengthens its relations with Japan, it will help Turkey to keep its Western focus. That is to say, strengthening Turkey's relations with Japan would be an anchor tying Turkey to the liberal free world order. It would certainly help the development of Turkish democracy in a positive way, and it would also help Turkish people to look abroad. This is very important at a time when Turkish relations with the EU and the United States is not very good, I think. And even though, as you have said, there's a certain level of unrest because of whatever happened, compared with other Middle Eastern countries, Turkey is still relatively stable. The coup d'etat attempt was bound to fail. I mean, I'm not surprised that it failed. I'm very surprised that it happened in the first place, because it was bound to fail, I think. I think the democratic norms in Turkey are rather strong. But as I said, to escape an inward-looking mindset, Turkey should strengthen its relations, and Japan is a very good partner in terms of that. And I think the relations with Japan will further stabilize Turkey. Well, I wanted to focus the importance of migration problem in Mediterranean Sea. The sea security is not only about navies and military power or how many missiles you have. The non-traditional security threats are more important. The children who have died while trying to pass the Mediterranean Sea, the child Aylan Kurdi, which unfortunately lost his life at 4 years old in the Turkish beach. That picture was all around the world. The people, ordinary people who lost their lives while trying to find safety in Europe, trying to run away from all the hardships in their own country. So when we're thinking about security and maritime security, we should focus more on human security aspect, I believe. So I wanted to give a focus on that. And the security is not about stopping migrants, it's also helping migrants and saving their lives in the sea. Unfortunately, these people are being abused. Human smugglers are actually smuggling these people for profit. And their lives were really in big danger, and many of them died. Only in 2015, almost 300 of them died. So there should be something done about it. I would like to highlight that point. The second part of my presentation here was more on the traditional security threats. I wanted to highlight whatever is going on in the Mediterranean Sea, why Russia is so much involved in Syria. It doesn't really have to. And I wanted to highlight the way Japan, I didn't really touch Japan very much, but EU and Russia have such a different way of understanding the world. I think the way that Japan understands the world is not that different than the way Europe understands the world. And it's a little different than United States. United States still has this classical geopolitical focus around the world, but the normative aspects are very important. Russia and China, on the other hand, are countries with totally different mindsets. I think Japan's understanding is much in line with Europe, which is normative and focused on human security. Russia and China are more focused on geopolitics, geoeconomics, and state security. So I wanted to expose these different ways of understanding the world. I'm familiar with Sasakawa Peace Foundation's efforts. They're also doing a lot of projects in Turkey. Unfortunately, I couldn't be a part of any of the projects. I couldn't work with Sasakawa Peace Foundations, but I would like to do that in the future. I really find a huge value in being a non-profit, non-partisan institution going beyond ordinary politics. I'm a member of a university called TOBB, which means the University of Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Some universities in Turkey are very politicized. But in Turkey, my university, my institution, and the board of directors are pretty much people who are beyond focus, because everybody is a member of Turkish Chambers of Commerce and Industry. It doesn't have any political color. And I believe in this world of polarization from United States, to Southeast Asia, there is a huge polarization also in Europe, left and right, liberals and conservatives and everything. There should be institutions and people who should be able to look beyond this polarized way of looking at the rest of the world. Sasakawa Peace Foundation is pretty much interested in every issue, especially humanitarian issues, development, and I believe that such institutions must increase in the world, and they should be made stronger in the long run. That private institutions should be helping them, private companies should be helping them, governments should be giving them support, and they should expand their scope and their field of work. The thing is that, theoretically speaking, the world is an anarchical world. I study international politics. There is no world government or states to organize things. So there are many different states competing with each other, like Russia, China, USA, etc. And these security problems are increasing. Japan, South China Sea, North Korea, In this world of no central authority, institutions like United Nations, intergovernmental institutions, or institutions like Sasakawa Foundation, NGOs, play a very important role. And I think the future, despite the introvert trend in the world, which has seemed to be going on for the last 1 or 2 years, and which will continue for a while too, I think will be mitigated and softened by the works and the ambitions of institutions like Sasakawa Peace Foundation.